Hi, I'm Canadian in Philippines. By the end of this video, you're going to know the real cost of living in the Philippines. I'm from Canada, but I've also lived in the USA, France, and now the Philippines. In September 2018, I retired to the Philippines, and in 2019, I bought the SRRV retirement visa. In order to calculate the cost of living here, we need to break down what your expenses are going to be and how much you can realistically expect to be spending here. I will give you a range of costs so that you will be able to safely guide your decision making. I will refer to all expenses in Philippine pesos. You need to understand this because everything here is in Philippine pesos, not US dollars. But I will also set out conversion rates for major currencies as I go through the video. You will often hear people refer to living cheaper in the provinces. It's basically anything outside of Metro Manila. And one final introductory comment. How do I say it? BS, yeah, that's it. You will see and hear lots of it on Facebook and YouTube. I see a lot of misinformation on the internet that makes it seem much better or much worse than it is here. I'm not going to tell you that you should come here and live on $500 a month like some videos do. And someone will probably comment that they do this, but I have one question. Why would you? That is setting up for failure, disappointment, and an overall bad experience. I am risk averse. I try to avoid risks. So my goal is to share my experiences with you and for you to decide for yourself whether this move is right for you and to help you avoid making a decision that will set you up for failure if you relied on exaggerated or false advice. I will include chapters in this video so you can jump to sections that interest you if you don't have time to watch the whole video. So let's get going with the first category of your expenses in the Philippines.
The first expense is rent. For most people, this will be your biggest monthly expense. It's one that you can fully control. You can live as simply or in as much luxury as you desire. Apartments. I have rented 4 apartments in my time in the Philippines. 2 one-room apartments, one at the beach for $13,000 and one in Tanhai for $7,000. I also rented a 2-bedroom, brand new, unfurnished apartment in Tanhai for $13,000. Expect a range from 7,000 to 30,000 pesos, depending on the level of luxury you desire. Condos. I have owned and rented condos in different countries, but for me, it's not my preferred form of accommodation in the Philippines. I lived in a high-rise fancy condo in BGC, Metro Manila, but I felt like I was living in Vancouver or Chicago, not in the Philippines. This is not what I'm looking for in my retirement. Low-end cost would be in the 20,000 peso per month range. Or in Manila, you can get a nice 1-bedroom from 40,000 to 75,000 pesos. My condo, which was regularly 75,000 pesos, was reduced to 56,000 because I signed a 1-year lease. I wish I hadn't signed the 1-year lease. I would have moved out after 6 months and went to a different part of the Philippines. Dumaguete has one modern complex. In fact, it's the one behind me as I'm speaking right now. The tower directly behind me, behind this shoulder, was built and it was opened in 2019. At the time, they promised other condos as well as a mall that they said would be similar to Festival Mall in Muntinlupa. It's the mall behind this shoulder over here, still not open, still under construction in 2024, but it's nothing like similar to Festival Mall. I'm sure it's going to be nice. There's no shopping at all in this area, so any shopping will be good. The one tower is the older from 2019, and there's some newer towers. I've been advised that the prices are $25,000 for a studio, up to $45,000 for a 2-bedroom, and that would be furnished. It's a few kilometers from shopping in downtown Dumaguete, and there are a number of restaurants all in walking distance. This will be a great facility when it's finished. Before you rent, before you buy, come and check it out in person. Talk to other people who are here. Never, never, never rent or buy online. Everything looks different. You see it in person. On that note, there was no need to rent anything in advance. I know of some expats who paid for 2 months in advance of their arrival. No need to do that. There's lots of inventory across the Philippines, everywhere I lived. Get a hotel room for a couple nights, explore, and look in person. Just like dating apps, photos on the internet don't tell the whole truth. Or the neighborhood, which you need to explore as well. It's where you'll be living, so check it out. Making the right decision for you will make your stay and your living much better. Depending on what you find, you may be willing to pay a bit extra on your housing budget so that you get the best option for you. 2 to 3 bedroom houses in the province, you're looking at 7 to 20,000. These are modern, unfinished houses In our neighborhood, you can find a house 10,000 to 20,000 range. Beachfront houses, I'm talking about modern houses starting in the range of 25,000 and upwards. Metro Manila, you can easily spend 100 to 200,000 on modern houses in nice subdivisions. Of course, you can find examples that are less than that, but that's what you're paying for a modern house in a nice subdivision. So if you're out in the provinces, a good range of estimate would be 10 to 50,000 pesos, or 170 to $854 US. My fourth year in the Philippines, I bought a house with my wife. We paid 3 million pesos and we spent 1 million in closing costs, taxes, and renovations. This 4 million cost would double if you financed it in the Philippines. So our 4 million would be roughly 68,000 US. And if you wanted to figure out an approximate equivalent rent, if you factor that over 20 years, that would be 16,700 pesos a month or $285 a month. Very, very cheap for the quality and size of home we have. 3-bedroom home, an outer building with maid's quarters, 3rd bathroom and storage, as well as a large walled compound inside a secure subdivision. So this is another option that you may consider, but don't do it right away. Start out renting, get your feet under you, and take your time. As I mentioned, if you decide to buy, you should pay cash. The finance option in the Philippines is not similar to other countries, very high, not in favor of borrowers.
The number 2 category is groceries. Most expats that I know, this is the second biggest expense in their monthly budget. But obviously, this is totally within your control. Some may have a simple diet and have low costs, and others may not want to give up imported goods. I tend not to skimp on my food budget. One thing to be certain, imported goods, like in any country, are more expensive. Relatively speaking, it is very cheap to eat in your home or at restaurants in the Philippines. I buy food at street side sales of vegetables and fruits. As well, I also like the Valencia Sunday Market, and I buy from the big department-sized grocery stores, as well as a specialized import grocery store in downtown Dumaguete. A good estimate, and I know some may think this is high, a range from $15 to $20 a day, or $450 to $600, which is approximately 26,380 pesos up to 35,170 pesos that may help you. Obviously, if you have multiple mouths to feed, that number will be much higher. And I know some expats are feeding growing children, so their budget will be higher. The number 3 category in my list is eating out. This is another expense that you have control over. Some don't like to eat out, and this won't be an issue for them. We cook most of our own meals. We also order from Grab food delivery from many restaurants in the Dumaguete, Sibalun area. And occasionally we eat out at restaurants. It's always nice to do as a treat. And there are so many amazing restaurants in the area. Approximate estimate of the budget will be 2,000 to 8,000 pesos per month, or US $34 to 137. The number 4 category of expenses is electricity. This bill will be higher the more air conditioning you use. A pharmacist told me when I first visited here in 2017 to use less air conditioning and use the fan, especially overnight, and you won't get lung illnesses. So I ran the fan most of the time and only the air conditioner intermittently. And I do the same now, so that helps keep the bill down. I know other expats who run the air conditioning 24/7. Their bill is much higher than my bill. A good estimate for electricity would be 1,000 to 10,000 pesos. 10,000 if you're running your air conditioning continuously. Municipal water, expect to pay 200 to 800 pesos. Some people have a pump jack well, like in the old days back home. You can get free water from that. However, in almost every area, including BGC when I lived in Manila, people get drinking water from water stations. This is a very cheap source of purified drinking water. You can get 20 liters in most provinces for 15 to 20 pesos, and expect to pay 30 to 40 in the bigger cities. A bill for this over a month would be 100 to 300 pesos. Garbage, 60 to 80 pesos. 60 in our subdivision, we get garbage pickup 6 times a week, 3 days garden waste and food items, and 3 days of garbage and recyclables. But the key is you have to separate or they won't take your garbage away. I know some expats who refuse to separate, and they instead will pay someone to come and pick up their garbage every couple days, which is needed in the heat in the tropics. So their bill will be much higher. An estimate of utilities for the month, 23 to $203 US. In Philippine pesos, 1,300 to 11,900. And obviously, the more bodies you have in your household, the higher the bill will be.
Expense number 5 is mobile phone and home internet. In the Philippines, you'll hear people talk about prepaid and postpaid. Prepaid is adding load or value to your phone so that you can use it every few days. This is the cheapest way to go, and most locals use this way. Postpaid is paying one time per month. You're able to charge your credit card, which I find very convenient. Automatic charge, don't have to worry about it. I pay 999 pesos with Globe, That gives me 20 gigabytes, unlimited calling, unlimited texting. Obviously, it's a bit more. It's still a fraction of what I would pay in Canada. If you're willing to do the prepay, get going every few days, you can get your phone bill down to as low as 200 pesos a month. So I would say a range would be 200 pesos a month up to 1,000. That would be $3.40 US to $17. Internet. There are local companies like Globe, PLDT, Smart. For internet, you're looking at a range of 1,300 pesos to 6,000 pesos if you want speeds of 1 gigabyte. If you want speeds of 100 Mbps, you're looking at around 1,300 pesos. I was paying 300 Mbps with PLDT, and when it was working, I was only getting 10 to 15, not the 300 I was paying for. I switched to Globe, and now I'm getting 400 Mbps for $2,199 per month, and my service has been amazing, very high-speed internet. However, there's one that you should know. Starlink is available, and it's a game breaker. The fees are $2,700 per month. I have a roam package on my Starlink, $3,300 per month. And I can take that anywhere I go in the Philippines. So we take that when we're roaming. We also take up into mountains where there's no cell signal. But Starlink gives you high-speed internet. In the past, the internet speeds up in the mountains were only 2 to 5 Mbps. In summary, leaving out the high-end gig per second for internet in the Philippines would be 1,300 to 3,300 pesos. In US dollars, 22 to 56. A pro tip, something I learned was very useful in the Philippines: an international phone number. What does that mean? I have a phone number in Alberta, Canada. I use OpenPhone App, and that's $10 US per month. So approximately 586 pesos. Before I cover the next category, I just want you to know we really appreciate you for watching our video. And if you're getting something out of this, please give it a like. And if you could subscribe, that would be wonderful. It really helps out our channel. If there are any topics you'd like me to cover, please send it out in the comments. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate you watching. Expense category number 6, entertainment. This completely depends on your choice of entertainment. Movies are cheap in the Philippines. Playing pool is also cheap. Golf is not so cheap. Beach activities, very cheap. Tourist spots, also relatively cheap. It's easily much higher when you're going to be a tourist, and it's something you need to do. For example, last week we went to Cebu Island for 2 nights and 3 days. Travel within the Philippines is cheap. In a non-travel month, we look at 2,900 pesos to 22,700 pesos, 50 US dollars to 200 US dollars per month. The next expense category is number 7, transportation. Car renting is about 1,500 pesos per day, US 25.63. You can get a driver privately for about 500 pesos per day. If you get it through the rental company, you're looking at 1,500 to 2,000 pesos a day. Privately, 500 would be 854, and the 2,000 would be $34 per day. Buying is expensive. It's almost double the cost of North America. In 2019, I bought a 2011 Honda Civic, and it was 430,000 pesos. Insurance, 300 pesos is mandatory. If you want to go private insurance, it's up to 20,000 pesos. Gas, driving around the island, there's not far to drive most islands, maybe 2,000 pesos to 6,000 if you're doing lots of driving. Motorcycle or scooter, you can rent. Renting is cheap in most places, but staying for extended time, look at buying. Buying, you can buy used or new. Insurance, same as car insurance, there's a mandatory, roughly 300 pesos up to 5,000. Gas, motorbike or scooter, 400 to 1,000 pesos. You can buy a scooter, which is a very popular form of transportation. We bought a Honda Click, 72,000 pesos, brand new, paid cash, $1,200 US. You can even get a used, good condition, save even more money. One guy mentioned to me rents his scooter because he thought that registration takes too long. The point about registration, some said it's complicated. One guy said he didn't do it because you have to get a lawyer. Not true at all. You don't need a lawyer. I bought my car. I went down to the LTO myself with the signed transfer papers, and it took me about half a day. You have to get an inspection done. Inspections are done right there at the LTO. They've got a garage attached in every LTO I've been to. Do the paperwork, so don't worry about that. As far as transfer, the private deal was the only one I had to do myself. We bought a scooter, a motorbike, and a 4x4 also, all through dealership. All those were handled by the dealership. Nothing to it, so don't worry about registration. If that's what's holding you back from buying, don't let that be a factor. I would say a one-time purchase, $1,000 to $2,000, and I would highly recommend it. I did a lot of time without a vehicle. It's much nicer to have a vehicle getting around. Public transport. I used public transportation when I was in Manila for the first 9 months, and then when I was in BGC, I already had a car, but I still use public transit once in a while. Trike, bus, jeepney, train, all very cheap. Trike 50 cents, the bus, the van, $1. The train was very cheap in Manila. You can also take Grab, but I would say the public transportation is the way to go. Grab at 500 pesos to 800, 900 pesos a trip. You can go a lot of public transportation for that value. Up to you.
I use Grab once in a while at the airport. Going to the airport, I'll use Grab for sure in Manila or Cebu, but generally I'll take public transit if I don't have my own vehicle available. As far as the cost, it's something that I haven't factored into the budget for giving you guys the estimate. For us, it's nothing as we have our own vehicle, but at the most $1 to $2 per day on the days you would use it. So that might only be a few days a week. So it's not a big number, less than a cup of coffee, a good way of getting around, especially when you're starting out. You can get away without not having this expense. You'll have enough expenses when you're starting out, especially if you're buying household goods for an unfurnished apartment. Expense category number 8, health insurance. If you're interested, definitely get a quote from an expat health insurance company, but do not fall for false information. I saw a recent video which touted that it was with the expat insurance salesman, exaggerated claims and false information. An option that you can do here in the Philippines is pay as you go, which is what I do. For me, here it's 6 years now, I've come out way ahead by not having expat health insurance. Medications are cheap and readily available in the Philippines. Hospitals are good and a fraction of the cost of North America. So I've made that choice, but it's a choice that you have to make yourself. I have also the retirement visa, SRRV, and that allows me to get PhilHealth. PhilHealth is 15,000 pesos a year, 256 US. That's for my whole family. This expat health insurance expert did not like PhilHealth. He said it was basically a discount card. That's absolutely not true. Like most plans around the world, depending on the medical issue, the percentage of the coverage of PhilHealth will vary. 2022, the worst pain of my life, PhilHealth covered the balance, which obviously is more than the 15,000 I paid for my annual fee, so that was the savings right there. And consider the cost of that, all that top medical care that I had. I would have been broke if I paid that out of pocket in the United States. I had a colonoscopy in September 2023. The total cost of the colonoscopy was 14,220 pesos, and my out-of-pocket cost was 600 pesos. So as the expat health insurance expert said, maybe it is a discount card, but in my books, that was a pretty good discount. For my health conditions, I've been to heart doctors, cancer doctor, dermatologist related to my cancer, and general practitioners as well as surgeons, all direct. Check out the table on the screen for the cost in your currency. As I mentioned, expat health insurance isn't maybe an option for you. It's something you definitely need to check out. I'll take my chances with the pay-as-you-go and the PhilHealth model. That partnership for me has worked. It's an individual choice. I'm not saying it's right for everybody, but make that choice. Don't just go with blindly going with the expat insurance. Here in Dumaguete, I've used the Negros Polymedic Hospital and ACE Hospital. ACE is the Allied Care Experts, and there are similar facilities around the Philippines. When you're deciding which city or which island to live on, make sure you do check into the available medical facilities. It's not all the same on every island. Quality of care should be one of those things you tick off on your list when you're deciding where to live. Some islands are very different, nice to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there. Prescriptions, low cost and readily available. In the 6 years that I've been here, I take daily heart meds. I've maybe had to go only 2 or 3 times to different pharmacies to find what I was looking for, as it wasn't available. That's it for healthcare. Main takeaway is it really depends on your health situation. Don't be afraid of not going with the healthcare insurance if it's too expensive, like it would be for me. I've seen so many warnings online that I just haven't experienced in 6 years. Expense category number 9, miscellaneous expenses. The first item, miscellaneous clothing. Especially in the provinces, you don't need a lot of clothing. T-shirts, shorts, flip-flops. Most months, zero spending in clothing. It's very cheap to have a tropical outfit. Personal care. In Manila, when I was there, we often got massage. It was very cheap. 250 pesos, $4.25. Compare that to back home where it's over $100. Dentist, teeth cleaning. It's 1,000 pesos, sometimes cheaper, about 17 US dollars. Island hopping. Ferries are cheap. You can jump on a ferry, $4.25, 250 pesos. If you take a motorbike or scooter, it's going to be 1,000 pesos. And it's more expensive if you do a longer trip going to Manila. I wouldn't do that. I would only do ferries for island hopping. I would take flights for longer trips. Tourist visa. To avoid paying penalties, you need to renew your tourist visa 7 days before expiring. Just go into any immigration office. They've got sub offices around the country. SRRV, Special Resident Retirement Visa, which is what I have. It is an annual fee of $360 or 21,000 pesos. There's lots of good information online about the SRRV. Alcohol, relatively cheap. I'm not a big drinker. I like to drink San Mig, and I'll have a couple of those a month at the most. See lots of foreigners starting their day with a power breakfast, including a few stronger beers. Very cheap to drink here in the Philippines. Dating. It's easy to do, but be picky. Find a good one, hopefully one that has a job already so she has some of her time occupied. Meet for coffee, meet for a meal on a first date, especially if you met online. If it doesn't feel right, if there's red flags, move on. There's lots of people out there who'd be interested in dating a foreigner, and find the right one that fits you. Do not fall for requests for money. Many foreigners send money to people they meet online. Don't do that. Remember, if you meet someone with kids, the kids will become your responsibility. There's no way around it. I chose someone who had no kids. My retirement budget demanded it. An estimated monthly cost of this budget line, low end, that depends on you, to sky's the limit. Be careful. In summary, I know some people suggest much lower numbers. I saw one guy living in Manila with a wife and baby suggesting he can live for under $1,000. Life is never straightforward. You need to have some backup room. Come prepared, have a realistic budget. It'll help your decision in retiring here or in any country. I've set out a table which shows the total estimated cost, price range. I'll put that table on the screen so you can check out the currency values. Obviously, the total price, where you fit on this scale, is an individual choice. You're the one who's making the choices, and it's going to be based on your lifestyle. I hope this video was helpful for you. And if it was, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to see other videos. And if you'd like to see something in the future, put a comment and let me know what you think you'd like to see. Thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. Take care. Please check out this other content. I hope you like it also.